Live here on AMP, back at it again. I don't even know what week 5. Feels about week 10 of college football, and we might be rolling with the hottest gambler I've ever seen, Stuckey from the Action Network. You can find him all over the place, online, and obviously big bets on campus, all over the Action Network's content. Stuckey tweeted at me I'd say late USC Colorado, right on cue, as those Trojans can't cover a fucking soul.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I think it was 47-20, I think. And then the game was in doubt a bit towards the end. You're not winning a national title with that defense. I mean, it's just the same old story like we talked about last week. It's crazy.
I was watching, and it kind of felt at one point like a little Oregon-y, right? They were just, are they going to win this game 60-30? So I was like, shit, I'll go to the gym. And I turned it on, just like, we'll keep an eye on it. All of a sudden, I looked up. I think they had broken a big play. And Caleb threw a pick, and it kind of snowballed. And you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Now, the game, I don't think, is it fair to say, was not quite as close as the 48-41, but it definitely was a legit cover by the Buffs.
Yeah, and it just shows you the difference between. Yeah, I mean, look, USC had that game in hand, and then some fluky stuff happened at the end, but it just shows you the difference between, USC and who's like a really good top 10 team, and a real national title contender in like Oregon, right? Just look at the difference between those two games. I know one was at home, one was on the road, but they scored about the same amount of points, and Oregon could have scored 70 if they wanted to, and Colorado couldn't score against Oregon, and they could with ease against USC, and that's going to be their downfall until Riley invests time into the defense and probably gets a new coordinator.
Hey, before we dive into the NFL, let's hit on a couple. There actually are some pretty good college games. Thank God Oklahoma just kind of got their shit together in 2023. Now, are they actually good? Who knows? But this rivalry, when they're both 5-0, is pretty cool. I mean, this game always lives up to the hype. I mean, last year, I forget the score offhand, but wasn't it like 100-0?
49 nothing. Yeah, 49-0.
Yeah, so I think it was the biggest win in the history of the game, either side. So that was Venables. Pretty big moment. Clearly, Texas is legit. I mean, most people think, and rightfully so, I mean, they could win the national championship. I'm still hesitant with Steve Sarkisian, but line's not that big given what happened last year. Obviously, Texas is more talented. Does Oklahoma have a shot here? Upset alert.
I think they have a shot. I don't see it happening. But yeah, I mean, last year, Dylan Gabriel, who's playing really well. They have a kid behind him, Jackson Arnold, who's 5 stars, going to be really good at quarterback too. But last year they didn't have either. They were running Wildcat. Like Gabriel was hurt, and it was bad. It was embarrassing. Their defense got embarrassed. The defense is better this year. It's significantly improved. I think that's the biggest thing with this Oklahoma team. And they have a quarterback who's not hurt now. The offense, it's still like lacks some playmakers on the outside. You're not like wowed by, when Gabriel, who's playing really well. If you watch the difference between Texas and Oklahoma, I think that's the biggest thing right now is that Texas has like just explosive play pros on the outside, and Oklahoma, doesn't really have that right now. The defense, I think, is legit. Some of it's kind of, competition based, but I think they'll give them a game. They're obviously going to be up for it after last year, but I think Texas's defensive front is going to be the difference, just like it was against Alabama. The Oklahoma offensive line, and in addition to the receivers, is kind of the weak area of this team. Still hasn't come together yet. And, I think the run D is playing outstanding, but the secondary can be attacked. So as long as Ewers, there is an upset alert because Ewers could always, he still kind of scares me. He could have like just a game where he's just completely off and has accuracy issues and throws a couple picks. That's where this game could get really scary. I think the line's about right. I made it like 7.5. So I think it's a little short, but and if you look at Oklahoma, yes, they've looked impressive, but they played SMU at home, and it was 14-11 with 9 to go in the game. And then, SMU had a special teams blunder, and then they went for it on 4th down at their own 30, and Oklahoma scored 2 touchdowns. to make that look like, and SMU actually outgained them. And if you look at the Cincy game, they won by 14, but Cincy was going up and down the field and just couldn't do anything in the red zone. So
Yeah.
yes, Oklahoma's looked impressive, but two of their better data points, there's actually been some questions there and hasn't been as easy as the final score might have indicated. So yeah, I think Oklahoma will be up, semi upset alert, but I think Texas gets it done. They're legit.
Okay, two other quick SEC games. Obviously, the one in in your backyard. I mean, it's in Georgia, but this Kentucky team well. They're 5-0. A little Ewing theory here. Will Levis leaves, and they look a lot better. Clearly, their offense. I mean, based on getting rid of Scangarillo last year. I don't know if Georgia's is good. Clearly, they're not. I mean, you can't lose that many elite players. And then the A&M Bama game. I mean, I think A&M's got to be the bet there, even if you're not a huge Jimbo Fisher guy, right? I mean, this Bama team feels more 9-3 than it does 11-1. So I don't really know what to make of Georgia, Kentucky. I'll be honest, I haven't really watched Kentucky, but fuck, I mean, I watched a little bit of A&M, multiple games. And this was the thing last year when they went 5-7. The talent, no one argues the talent. I talked to a guy in the league that went through some of the SEC schools, and they say if they can just get the train on the tracks there, they can beat anyone on any given week just because they have so many NFL level bodies from like junior down to freshman.
Yeah, A&M's the bet. I bet A&M there +3. It's come down. I still like it. I think they win that game. This Alabama team, it's just a mess right now. Their offensive line is a mess. They obviously can't really consistently throw it. Milroe can hit a bomb, but he's not, he can't run this pro style offense and throw the intermediary routes and really read a defense. And the Texas A&M, one of the most, you said it, they have 5-star talent all over, one of the most talented rosters in all of college football, which makes what they did last year so shocking. So credit to Jimbo for at least going out, getting Bobby Petrino to run the offense. And
what a crew.
It's a motley crew. And he's given them full reign. And like they now have a more modern, it's not the Jimbo conservative, boring offense. And they have pros at receiver. Their starting quarterback got hurt, but there's not much of a drop off to Max Johnson. He was an LSU transfer.
Yeah.
He's played well, but the biggest thing is that their defense, they couldn't stop the run. They were one of the worst run defenses in the country last year, even though they have 5 stars all on the defensive line at linebacker. They fixed those issues, and that's the biggest thing against Alabama. I mean, Milroe, look at last week against Mississippi State. Mississippi State defense that is gutted, that is horrendous this year. He went 10 of 12 for 160 yards, and then Alabama runs it 45 times for 190 yards. Like, this is one of the worst rushing offenses too that Saban's ever had, and that's all they can do with Milroe. So I think the Texas A&M run defense is up for the task here, and as long as they don't give up too many bombs, because that's Milroe's specialty. You can throw a great deep ball. They should be fine here. They're the team. It's good. It's weird to say and see, but they're the team with the clearly way more talented receiving core. Alabama doesn't have playmakers on the outside this year. You can remember the Alabama teams from 2-3 years ago, all those receivers that were going to be pros. Not really the case this year. No one's emerged on the outside. And Alabama and Texas A&M has a couple senior really good receivers and then a couple freshmen that are going to play in the NFL. So I think that'll be the difference in front of a raucous home crowd. And then Kentucky, Georgia. Yeah, I get back.
Really quick, Stuckey. Don't you think if you look, I would imagine you can get them 10+1 to win the SEC. If they win this game, their road to the SEC championship game gets a lot easier. Obviously, they have one loss, but that was to Miami. All of a sudden, I mean, they're going to be favored against, several of the other teams. I think that A&M, if you like, that would be the bet, because if they do win this game, it opens up pretty easy. I don't want to say easy. The SEC West is always difficult, but they've already beat Auburn. They've already beat who they beat. Arkansas is not any good, but then you beat Alabama. I don't know, man. I mean, you look at Georgia too. Even if their road is relatively easy to get the SEC championship game, A&M does have the talent to beat them. It's not that crazy, I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that is the bet. Unfortunately, I have an Ole Miss 25-1 to win the division ticket. The problem there is that they already lost to Bama. They do host Texas A&M, but they have to go to Georgia, and they already have a loss against Alabama. So yeah, and Texas A&M, it's like they go to Tennessee, but Tennessee's down this year. Then they host South Carolina. they had that game at Ole Miss, but they're Miss State and then LSU can't stop a nosebleed. So yeah, I agree. I think that as of right now, that is the bet. And then Georgia, Kentucky. Look, Ray Davis was awesome. He ran for 1,000,000 yards against Florida last week. But the offense has still been so inconsistent. Like last week, they were just handing it to Ray Davis, and he was running through everybody. I think Leary is still hurt. He has like these, not hurt. He has this mechanical issue after his pec injury. So he's been so inconsistent and with his accuracy, especially early on in games, until he kind of gets his pec and shoulder warmed up. And then receivers have had a lot of drop issues. So the offense has been like very inconsistent because of this mechanical issue, because of the receiver drops. They've hit a ton of explosive plays, which is great, but you can't really do that against Georgia. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to line up and just run Ray Davis, especially at their last week. It's not like they have a mobile quarterback. Georgia's got ran through by Auburn, who cannot complete a forward pass. I assume their defense is going to be on full alert here. But yeah, Georgia's a step down. Look, I mean, if I had to bet this game, I would bet Kentucky, but I'm getting bad vibes. Just my gut and intuition, like it's a wake up call game for Georgia. If they don't cover this game, or maybe even lose, I mean, if they only win by 7-10, then they're really off. But yeah, there's no emotional lead on the offense or defense. Clear step down at quarterback, clear step down at offensive coordinator, and I think that they're complacent, right? They won back-to-back national titles. The schedule stinks, so you're just like, all right, get me to the college football playoff. I mean, they're down 7-0 at the end of every first quarter, no matter who they play. That's eventually going to burn them. You would think that maybe they wake up here. I don't know. They didn't do it at home against South Carolina. They didn't do it at home. They didn't do it on the road against Auburn last week. I'm getting bad vibes from it, but I didn't bet it. No bet there. I'll be out and about in Lexington, watching and rooting so the town burns down.
It's pretty crazy how wide open of all the years, right? Georgia's clearly a couple years ago was the best. Them in Alabama last year, they were head and shoulders more talented than everyone else. It feels like Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, and Washington. I think Florida State is just going to be there right now that they got through LSU and Clemson. It's pretty cool just because it's freaking Texas. Obviously, if they win this game, their path to the playoff. I mean, what do you think? 6-7 teams have a legitimate chance to win the national championship?
Yeah, you could say 8-10 maybe. I mean, like you have the Pac-12, and it's all over the country too, which I think is so fun. And I have this year I have I think 10 to 12 teams that are within a touchdown of each other at the top. Usually within the last decade, there's 1 to 2 teams that are a touchdown above everybody else. Now everyone, there's 10 to 12 teams that are bunched up that closely. Look, you could even throw in Miami. I mean, how good is Miami? We don't really know yet because of the schedule, but they beat the shit out of Texas A&M. And this is a super talented team that the staff was way off last year. They hired new coordinators. Tyler Van Dyke has a lot of talent. He was hurt last year. Throw them in there. Throw the Pac-12 in there. You have your, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan from the Big Ten. And then obviously you have your SEC, which is down, but the teams at the top can still win it. So yeah, I think I love this year. I think it's great for the sport. And then you're getting every region involved. It's kind of ironic that the Pac-12 arguably is the best, most deepest conference in college football this year in its last season.